I play every day, and I love it, and I'll never stop. In terms of once you're a decent player, it's really hard to get much better. And that's actually what I struggle with the most. I'm very frustrated. Some of my friends think I'm an amazing player, and I truly think I suck. And I cannot be more honest about that. I think I suck bad.
Well, I think most really good guitar players feel the same way. They're never satisfied.
I'm not even close to being satisfied because I think I know what potential I have.
Okay.
So,
what would you think it would take you to get to that level?
Focus. I'm not focused. I believe that I have ADD for real. I wasn't diagnosed as a child, but I was always in trouble in school for not paying attention. So I'm convinced I have attention deficit disorder, which will quickly lead us down the subject of why I've owned 107 amps. And I find it hard to focus. I just... if I could focus more, I think my guitar playing would radically improve.
I used to give guitar lessons. I used to teach young children, and I'd tell them all the time, you don't need to practice an hour a day, just 10 minutes a day. Just find a routine that works, and then just keep your fingers limber. It's if you have trouble focusing, pick a certain level, a certain area where you think you're struggling with, and then just focus in on that for 10 minutes. All it takes is 10 minutes a day.
Yep.
Incremental increases.
Yep, you're right.
Increase day by day.
Small, steady wins the race.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. And I think any playing is good practice. I think if you play every day, I think you're still going to get better, just not as quick as if you focus.
Exactly.
You know? And theory, we all like to avoid it. I'm starting to learn that it's hard to completely avoid theory if you really want to be a great guitarist. I don't know how you can completely avoid it, because understanding chord structure and intervals and triads really is key to becoming a great player. Understanding your fretboard, knowing all the notes, you know?
Absolutely.
It may sound like common sense, but not all of us have common sense.
Well, that's the thing, is that you have to become a rounded player. You can't just be soloing all the time. You can't just play a lead. You have to
learn how to play rhythm.
You have to learn how to play rhythm. And one of the best pieces of advice I ever read was from Guitar Player magazine. If you want to become a good guitarist, learn how to play drums. And I took drumming lessons for a while, and I got my rhythm better. And because a lot of times your right hand is very much like what your hand would be if you're hitting a snare. So if you can keep your hand in time playing rhythm and playing drums, that will improve your rhythm. And that's one thing I find that we have trouble with a lot of amateur guitar players, is time and going off on their own. It's being able to play in a group. You can get, again, I'll use a sports analogy, you can get all the best hockey players in the world and put them on the same team, but if they don't gel as a team, they don't have chemistry together, they won't be any good. And it's the same with guitar players in a band, guitar players that play together. You have to learn how to play with others and be able to play off each other, understand each other's weaknesses and strengths, and I think that's where improvements come from.
Metronome, I should have a metronome. That's on my shopping list. Every real good guitar player says you must have a metronome and practice scales to the timing.
That's
right.
That's part of my practice routine.
Yeah.
I use a metronome. I've had one for a number of years. You can buy.
You can get the app on your phone now.
Yeah, exactly.
You can actually go on the internet.
I had one on my phone. The problem is that it becomes it's an app, so they're sending you advertisements all the time. They always want you to buy
stuff. The pro version, and we're cheap.
So if you go to a music store and you buy a Korg for $20, you can get a Korg electronic metronome. Nobody's going to bother you afterwards. You pay your money, you stick it on your music stand, and then away you go.
I need to get one. Definitely.
It helps.
Definitely.
So it's rhythm, timing, understanding bass, play, and understanding chords.
Yep.
What kind of, do you get into fancy chords like jazz?
Funny you should mention that. This year I've noticed myself heading into the jazz zone totally. It started with I'm hugely into the blues. And I love blues rock. Angus Young / all my heroes, they're all blues rock based. So I've come to realize that I'm a blues freak, and I love SRV and B.B. King, and I'm starting to work my way back to T-Bone Walker and all those great guys. But I've been wanting to bring my blues playing to the next level, and in consultation with my guitar teacher, Juan Andres, and my friend Vinod, who is my amp guru and my amp mentor, they basically told me that you just got to start getting into seventh, augmented, diminished seventh chords. So that's really the crux of it, is learning, more complex chording and voicings.
Yeah, and understanding what all that means. What is a seventh? What is what's a major versus a minor? A minor is a diminished third.
I did study music in Carleton. I should mention that for a year. I took a year of solid music theory. My goal was to get a degree in music, but I was going to school part-time at Carleton, and they wouldn't lend me the money to go to school full-time because I was working part-time, making a whopping $23,000 a year. So I dropped out of university, but I did last a year, and I learned a lot. But I don't use a lot of what I learned. Let's be real.
Well, I mean, once you get to a certain point, it just becomes in the background. You can't be thinking about the technique all the time. You have to just let it happen. Exactly. So you talked about your first guitar when you were, say, 10 years old.
Yep.
That probably wasn't your first real guitar.
Yep.
What do you remember your first real guitar that you
absolutely
gelled with?
Well, my first real guitar would have been my second guitar. It was an Ibanez Musician. Beautiful mahogany. This must have been around, 1984, I'm thinking. And it was beautiful. And I think that's really probably when I knew that I just loved guitar, and I ended up spray painting it. I was a total idiot. I was in Chile, started smoking weed and doing stupid things. And,
in Chile?
There was a lot of weed in Chile. My school was in the mountains in the Andes, literally the South American Rockies.
Okay.
And there was a lot of weed growing up in those mountains. So actually my history teacher was a big stoner, and I'll never forget at a young age. So anyways, that's a whole other story.
Weren't those the days of Pinochet?
Okay.
Dangerous time to be doing...
I was living in Chile during the Pinochet years. I've lived in 3 dictatorships, actually. I lived under Saddam Hussein in Iraq. I lived under Bourguiba in Tunis, and I lived under Pinochet. And but you know, you can still smoke.